Okay, so there's a couple of things happening with tangent. One thing you remember is that the period for tangent is pi units, and then that's when it repeats, rather than 2 pi with a secant or sine and cosine and secant, cosecant. So what I did with Desmos here is I graphed tan x, and I only graphed it on negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, because that's the first two vertical asymptotes, because you don't have the angle that the opposite divided, the y divided by x goes to infinity at positive pi over 2, and opposite, the y divided by x at negative pi over 2 goes to negative infinity. So that's why it looks like this. And then you jump over pi over 2 and it repeats. It starts way down at negative infinity and goes up to positive infinity. And if we go the other way, if we go negative pi over 2 to negative 3 pi over 2, it repeats. So the period, and you see how it always repeats it, the tangent of x is always 0 at negative pi, or at pi, multiples of pi, right? So 0, and see 1 pi, it'll be, well, I don't have a graph, but it'll look exactly like this. It's just shifted to the right, pi units. So then that question that you're asking about, if tan x equals 1.5, where is 1.5? Well, let's see if we can't do that. I think Desmos will do this for us, won't it? I honestly don't know what x value gives that, what angle gives us that. Let's cheat. We'll do the arctan of that. I know that's in section 3 rather than section 2, but this will get us a point at least. Here we go. So this is the point where tangent equals, and they aren't asking us to find that point. They don't care. The question they're asking us to find that. They're asking what's the y value. So you just see, since we're just shifting this over, we're doing a phase shift of pi units to the left with that expression. See how it's going to be exactly the same. So even though tangent's a odd function, because we're doing a full slide, it's the same value. Now, if they had asked us what's the tangent, if tan x equals 1.5, what's f of negative 1. What's f negative x? Well, then because tangent's a odd function, it would have been down here, right? It would have been a negative value. But that's not what that question's asking us, okay? Because they're just asking us to slide that whole function one cycle over. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Piecewise defined functions are pretty cool with Desmos. I always have to remember to look, because I don't do them very often. I've always got to go look up how to do the syntax, but because you're okay, you understand that. Here, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't I let's get rid of the piecewise function, so you can see how we're seeing the exact same function. Let's come down here. I'll leave that. I'll graph this, and I'll graph this. And you see how I'll make this a different color. Let's make this orange. Let's change this to, come up to, see, it comes up to the active function. See how we're seeing exactly the same thing? It's exactly the same function. So because the period of tangent is pi and we're shifting it a full period, we see the same thing, that they're identical. And turn off Desmos here. Stop recording.